Welcome to the Players Ball Podcast for AT Aliens by AT Aliens. I'm your host, Alex the Great. I'm joined by my brother, as always, MB. We're living a dream here, man. We are a couple of weeks away, days in some instances, from some real live football. Nice preseason stuff. So we're excited there. You were out coaching today. You know, you wanted football so much that you volunteered to coach and be a dad to another 9 kids. How did that go, man?
Oh man, kids these days. It's like herding cats. No, it's cool. I enjoy it. I understand the sport better than I know baseball, I know some soccer, but like I don't know that I could coach soccer. I don't know that I could really coach baseball.
Mm.
Um older kids I probably could coach baseball, but like T-ball age, that I don't think I could do. But with football, like I understand it well enough to know decent amount of drills and just fundamentals, right? To really try and push, impress upon these children. So it's a lot more comfortable to me than I expected. So
That's good, man. The youths. You know, take care of them, man. So I saw something. I know I told you I put this idea out there, but I didn't tell you what I saw. So there's a former All Star, 4-time All Star, who hasn't played in 2 years, but has interest being back in the league. Um, they seem very humble in their aspirations, saying that either they could come in as a player, they could come in as a coach. No, there's like, yeah, I could do the Udonis Haslam role, or if you need some minutes and some buckets, I'll go out there and get that for you too, right? And I heard this, and I was like, man, that's interesting. I would not mind signing this player to the Hawks, and the player is John Wall.
Hmm.
I don't know that we have. I mean, we got Kobe Buffkin, but we don't have any veteran leadership on our team. John Wall was very, very good for a while, and then he was just played by injuries. But to have him in the locker room and on the bench as a leader, there was a time where I would have been like, hell no, I'm not interested in that, just because he seemed like a player's player. Like, he wasn't trying to coach or do anything like that. But we all mature. He seems like he'd be about that life now, doing whatever we needed him to do. And without that veteran presence, I think that would be cool, man. What would you think about that?
Yeah, I think, I don't know a lot about John Wall personally and what he's like. And I do also have the preconception, I guess, of him being more of a me or I type guy instead of a team.
Mm.
But like you said, people mature. But overall, like conceptually, I do think that having a veteran presence in the locker room is huge, especially with the youth that we have. You look back a couple years ago when we had Vince Carter in the locker room helping raise Trey. You had Lemon Pepper Lou,
Yeah.
in there. And I think it made a big difference on the team as a whole, just having that veteran presence to kind of show people, to be the model of what it takes, right, to survive in this league as long as they have, because
Mhm.
a lot of people come and go. It's very rare, or it's few and far between the guys that can last 7, 8, 10 years, right? There's a lot of short careers. So the guys that do manage to last as long as, John Wall, Vince Carter, Lou Williams, especially, they must be doing something right. And so they can model that for those guys to just show them what it takes to have longevity in this league.
I just Googled this. 4.5 years is the average career in the NBA.
Yeah.
I've been at my job twice that, right? So, but no, yeah. So it sounds like we're on the same page. I don't know who would be that guy right now. Like it feels like Trey is his own veteran, and he's got all the talent in the world. I think he's driven to continue to prove, and I think he's got a chip on his shoulder now, right? He was talking about the Olympics at one point over the summer, how he would have loved to play and put other aspects of his game on display because I still think he's the best passer in the league right now. Um, but yeah, somebody that you can get advice with is invaluable. If you are the most seasoned and the best player on the team, I don't know that you're going to be able to go to anybody. And I'm sure you can go to people like he said he has a relationship with Steph Curry, right? But Steph not going to drop no dimes of wisdom mid-season, right? Maybe he will, but it won't be anything that is as impactful as someone that's going through it with you every day. So yeah, that's an idea. I want to put that out into the universe. I saw John Wall on Podcast P, the second to us as far as podcast quality, but he has some decent hosts or decent guests, and his co-hosts are pretty good too. So yeah, John Wall to the Hawks, man, calling it now.
Yeah, I think the only guy you really have in that team right now is what? Clint Capella in terms
Mhm.
of true seasoned vets. I mean, I guess you can, you know, claim Trey. I mean, he's a veteran at this
He's
point.
a vet now, yeah.
He's past your league average in terms of years of service. But I don't know, like he's still so young in my mind,
Yeah,
and like he has matured a lot as a player, but I still feel like he needs that, big brother on the team to help kind of bring him along and keep him motivated and keep pushing him.
especially somebody who's done it at the highest level, right? It's one thing to have a vet like somebody who's had a long, fruitful career, but John Wall was at one point he was considered one of the best guards in the league, right? He was out there double doubling, uh, taking the sorry Wizards to the playoffs. So having someone who's been to the levels that Trey, he hasn't even gotten there yet, right? He's been to a couple All-Star games, but having someone who's been there and had a similar trajectory and can maybe even tell you the missteps they've taken, you can't put enough credit on that
Yeah.
for what
So
that could do for a player.
is John Wall a free agent?
Yes.
So I mean, I see very low risk. It's funny because I knew you were talking about basketball. I didn't know who you were talking about, but you started describing all these things, and I wanted to be a little smart aleck and say, "Oh, so you ready to sign Trevor Bauer?"
you
And
know, I would do it now.
with everything that's gone on, you're ready.
I'm ready, man. And I know we didn't lose a pitcher, Ronaldo Lopez. So cold transition, right? Go Braves. Um, it doesn't feel like we can have enough players right now. We don't know. I think Ronaldo Lopez, he did look great when he came back. A lot of Ks, but he's still not a full game guy. What's Kenny Powers' name? They were talking about him on the radio this morning. Grant
Oh,
Holmes,
yeah, Grant Holmes. That's it.
like how important he's going to be as a lefty in relief because we lost. Who did we lose? Oh man,
AJ Minter. He had hip
AJ Minter.
surgery today.
Yeah, so he's done for the year. But how important he's going to be. Bringing Trevor Bauer in, it would just add another arm, man. How much more toxic could I'm sure there's
So
just all the superstition of the locker room. I'm sure it's just everywhere, man. How worse could it get?
so you bring up the toxic trait because I know this is like a projection that you have in your mind that like he seems like a toxic person.
Yeah,
Um
100%.
So he does the vlog thing, right? He has his own channel, and he's been playing in Mexico, and he's been vlogging. He posted one recently, like within the last couple of days, and I happened to be able to watch it today. And every single person that comes onto that team day in and day out asks him for advice. They ask him about their mechanics, about their pitch sequencing, about his routine, and he is always open and ready to share his knowledge. And this is why I transitioned into this conversation, because it's very much so that veteran presence who's had a tremendous amount of success, but not only that, is like eager to help other people. He actually has an app. I don't remember what it's called. I'm not going to just free plug Trevor Bauer's app, but he has an app out there that you can take. If you're like a aspiring pitcher, you can take video of you throwing bullpens, whatever, and he will sit down and personally analyze and give you feedback on your mechanics and what training you can do to help work on some of your flaws, like the whole nine. And so where I think he has like this cocky-esque persona, I don't really necessarily feel like he's that type of teammate, right? He is very confident in himself. He has a tremendous amount of knowledge about pitching, right? But in terms of being a good teammate, like at least from what I've seen, like I get the impression that he'd be a great teammate. He would be a good leader. He would help the young guys help develop. He's always, working with his teammates on adding new pitches and trying to figure out like, okay, so your cutter's not breaking. It looks like it's spinning this way. You need, more pressure on your index finger or, whatever it is. And like, I think he'd be a tremendous asset. The funny thing about this particular vlog he did today, he has a phone conversation and you don't know who he's talking to, but you get to hear, his side of it. And he's, he's obviously frustrated because he's dominating in the Mexican League. He dominated in Japan. Like he has the skills and talent. Everyone's like, you should be in the major leagues, but he's not. And he was talking to this person saying that, they've had conversations with GMs and this and that. And like some of the feedback is like, oh, well, you're too expensive. He's like, I'm willing to take the veteran minimum, or like giving all this excuses. And at one point he says, like, if someone would come to me and just say, look, we've looked at the situation from a PR standpoint. We've analyzed, the pros and cons, and we just don't think that that's the direction we want to go. He would accept that. But it's all these other like excuses that he's getting that is the frustrating part, because he's like, just be straight with me. Like I'm a big boy. I can handle it. And I have a feeling it's very similar to what happened with Colin Kaepernick and his, blackballing in the NFL, where it's like no one's going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
They're going to give you a million excuses why you can't, but not the true reasoning behind why they won't.
Right. Like, look, the league won't allow us to sign you, dog. You did too much. But Trevor Bauer is exonerated, right?
In the court of law, yes.
In the public eye, not so much, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I still see stuff about Marcell Ozuna all the time. And, Marcell has made some mistakes. He had a call a couple years ago where there was a dispute between him and his wife. And I think she had some allegations, and supposedly when the police came in, he had his hands on her.
There was video of that.
But everything I understand from that situation is more of a very toxic relationship between the two of them, and like she was physically violent towards him.
Mm.
And he did do pre whatever pre court diversion program and had to do all this stuff, and for the most part he's pretty much stayed out of trouble to the best of our knowledge. So I'm all about like a not condoning the behavior, but understanding that people make mistakes and no one's perfect. And as long as you're willing to, accept your punishment and, truly try to change, right? Like people should be given that, second chance. I think Trevor Bauer deserves his opportunity. The court has pretty much exonerated him, said that he was set up, that the allegations were false. I know there are some claims out there still that I don't think have gone anywhere in terms of courts or the legal system. But they did find that some
other women making accusations.
Yeah, people that like all came after, right? One of them was like pretty much excused immediately as like fake. I think there's some others that they haven't I'm sure they're investigating, but nothing publicly has been mentioned about those. So
Yeah. No, I would be. I mean, I said it about John Wall, right? It seems like he's matured. Trevor Bauer he could have done the same thing from a teammate standpoint. I was gonna jump in and say, I hear that and I raise you, Garrett Cole, because they had all that vitriol between them. But that was a long time ago at this point.
yeah,
Uh,
they were college teammates,
yeah,
and
but in the pros, he had some statements in the pros like, no, F that guy. I'll never talk to him ever again in my life.
yeah, and I mean, I don't really agree with that statement in terms of like, I don't believe you should act that way. I think you should be the bigger person. I think you should forgive and move on. I mean, we're called to do that.
Mhm.
But we don't know the circumstances, right?
No,
Like
we don't.
it could have been Cole that really instigated the beef or is the reason for the beef. Should they squash it? Sure. But like just to say Trevor's a bad teammate because he had a beef with a teammate.
Well, my point was that he may have matured, right? He
Yeah.
definitely made statements that seemed like he was a bad teammate, that they both were.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think he could have matured, and I'm on board, right? If they want to add another arm, let's do it. And I think he would be available, right? Do they play at the same, like the Mexican league is at the same time frame as us?
Yeah, they're playing.
Obviously, he would just leave, right?
Yeah, he would. But I mean, obviously I would support it. However, I don't anticipate that happening unless I mean something crazy would have to happen. We'd have to lose like our
Don't
entire
say it.
rotation.
I was gonna say, don't say anyone specific's name. We've had enough. I've had enough injuries, man.
Yeah, so
Speaking of injuries, yeah.
you were mentioned the return of Ronaldo Lopez, and
Mhm.
like clockwork, it seems this season one man returns and another one heads to the IL. And
One
in
up, one down.
this case, Austin Riley. Hate to see it. Um, got hit
Here
in
he
the
was
hand.
ramping up his season. Like he was starting to put it together. He
Yeah.
seemed a lot further along than Olsen.
Yeah, he took a ball to the hand and has a fractured hand. 6 to 8 weeks. I don't know what 6 weeks puts him at, but that's got to be like October, right? Or pretty
Yeah.
darn close to it. So likely not going to see him the rest of the year. Doubtful we would see him in a playoff push.
Right.
We'll be lucky to get Ozzy back for a playoff push. Our roster is just completely decimated.
Yeah.
The starting 10 with the DH, or starting 9, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
starting 9. Last night,
No, it's 10 with DH. Oh, no, you're right. Nah, no, you're right. Go ahead.
yeah, unrecognizable, right? Like you got Whit Merrifield out there, you got Laureano, um, Gio Ursula
Yeah. We just
played.
traded for him.
We didn't
Yeah.
trade. We signed him.
Him.
Trying to remember who played third base last night. Um, Either way, this roster's a shell of what it was at the start of the year, and it's just it's a little depressing. I watched a very interesting video someone put together earlier today about Ronald Acuna and just his career, just looking at his career as a whole and how few games he's really played, because you had the COVID year, which they had the shortened season. He missed most of 2021 with the ACL. He's missed most of this year with the ACL. You look at the 2022 season where he played, I believe, the whole season for the most part. But he was a shell of himself because he was still recovering from that injury. And it doesn't look good for him for next year. And the whole video was just talking about how amazing he is as a player, but how the injuries are starting to stack up. And the time when you look at his career at this point and some other Hall of Famers, and he's behind the 8 ball. So it
Mm.
just is an interesting perspective to look at and say, I think Ronald Acuna Jr. has every tool to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but will his career come to that? Like, will he have the opportunity to achieve those goals, or are these injuries going to really hold him back? And we
No,
don't
it's
know.
wild. No, we don't. We can't predict the future, but a lot of times what you'll see across the board in professional sports is, a player will start his career pretty injury plagued and they'll go somewhere else. And I guess it's the training staff or something will change personnel wise where they'll start to do something different and they'll get out of that. That's what Steph described at one point. Now it doesn't happen for everybody. Like Michael Redd is an example, or Brandon Roy in basketball is an example. Like super talented, just a hooper's hooper. Could not stay healthy, ended up out the league. I can't think of one for baseball. Mike Trout.
He well, yeah, Mike Trout's
He
really,
he was in the running to be one of the greats, one of the goats. That man cannot stay healthy.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see when his career is over how he is viewed uh, on a Hall of Fame level or not.
Mike Trout or
Yeah,
Ronnie? Yeah,
Mike Trout and I mean Bronny, but Bronny's still
well,
got a
ways away
law.
from that. Yeah,
Hopefully, right? Like you never know, but he's young enough that he should still have 10 plus years left in the big leagues.
100%.
But
Mike Trout. Yeah, man, this is just sad, right? So 2020 was the COVID year. He played 53. 2021, 36 games. He did make 119 in 2022, but 82 last year, and I think he's done now.
he is
But
done.
29 games this year.
That's it? 29 games this year?
29.
Yikes. Yeah, so prayers for Ronnie. Hope he's healing up. We did get to see him on the broadcast as he's out in LA training, getting healthy, rehabbing. But as the Braves were in,
Getting healthy, getting strong.
yeah,
That's the Spider-Man line.
when the Braves were out in Anaheim or LA playing the LA Angels of Anaheim or whatever they call themselves these days, the
Yeah.
Angels. Ronnie was in the dugout hanging with the boys. Seeing him reunited with his bestie Ozzy is pretty fun. But yeah, hope all that training and rehab goes well. It is very interesting, the video that I mentioned earlier. The the narrator brings up some statistics, and apparently studies have been done, and the production drop off the year following a ACL is pretty steep. And sure enough, Ronnie, had that exact same experience the first time. Hopefully this time goes better. But it all goes into the fact that batters rely on that back leg for balance and power and all these things. And the ACL stabilizes the knee. And if your knee's not stable, if you're not strong in that back leg, you're slow to get to the ball. And it leads to poor production. And
Yeah. And that's just the physical, right? You
yeah,
got the mental aspect of it where you had to trust the muscle again or trust the ligament. So when I went to the orthopedic surgeon, they had the knee model, and I was able to see all the ligaments, right? ACL, MCL, PCL, the meniscus, and like with that being torn, like it's this big string that's really attaching like the back of the knee. It's what gives you, that resistance when you can't see my knees right now, but so it gives you that resistance when you're bending. I can't imagine what that feels like to not have that attached, but to then do professional athlete level things after it's been repaired, man, that just seems like that'd be such a hurdle, both more mentally than physically. Because once you're healthy, but the brain is going to tell you, the mind is going to have, you know, some recency bias to be like, no, we shouldn't do that.
a little PTSD.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
man. So, but
it's got to be
ah,
traumatic, right?
yeah, yeah. It's like Derrick Rose. He talked about that, right? Trusting his body. I looked up athletes whose careers were cut short. He was on there. Brandon Roy was on there. Ken Griffey Jr. But Griffey played for a long time. He didn't. He didn't. Wasn't. I don't know. He probably could have still been playing. I just think about Albert Pujols, how long he played.
I think that
Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway were on there. Those were big ones.
I think the thing with Ken Griffey Jr. is that even in a shorter career, he made such a impact on the game
Yeah,
that you kind of don't even think about how long did he actually play, because the years that he did play, he
hmm
was on top of the world. I mean, he changed the game.
yeah. And statistically, he still has a staying power now, even with the shortened career, right? So
Yeah.
can't say those same things about Grant Hill or Penny Hardaway.
It's like Barry Sanders, but Barry Sanders his was for personal choice, but his stats still hold up
Mhm.
to modern day goats. So
His I think we talked about this before, but his Prime Amazon Prime doc is really good.
yeah, so I watched one last night. It's a new one on Netflix, The Untold. It's the Steve McNair murder.
Oh yeah, I want to watch that. How was it?
It's great. It's pretty wild. Way too short. Like when it ended, I was like, wait, it's over?
Mm.
It's just a very bizarre. Oh, I guess it's in some ways beautiful the way that it ends, and I'll let you watch it. I won't spoil it. But it does like have a clear wrap up, but it's not, it was unexpected, right? Because they're going through the whole story and all the details, and you have snippets of former players and associates, and it just ends, right? And I was like waiting for more. Like it felt like there
Yeah.
was just more juice that they could have included. But it was great. Like thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if you know this, but the Titans at one point in my life, that was my AFC team.
I
Uh,
remember you had a helmet. Do you still
oh,
have the helmet
oh
somewhere?
yeah. It's up on my shelves. I had a helmet. I had a Steve McNair jersey. I actually got heckled at the Falcons games a lot because there was one year when I had season tickets that we played the Titans, and I wore my Steve McNair jersey to the game. And like these are the guys that I sat with every Sunday for like 3 years, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't let me live down the fact that I was a traitor wearing that. But it was the year Michael Vick got injured preseason against Baltimore and was out for the year, and we
Mm,
sucked. So it's
yeah.
like I'll
Why
rep
not?
my other
The,
team.
the Joey Harrington year.
Yeah, it was, mm.
Yeah, man. Well, did you see if they closed it out? The Braves.
They lost.
They did lose 3-2.
Yes,
Yeah, 3-2 final.
unfortunate.
Mm, mm,
We did
mm.
win, so we're in a very pivotal 3 or 4 game series at home with the. I think it's a 4 game series with the Phillies. We won
Mhm.
game one. Ronaldo Lopez. Um, did he pitch last night, or was last night
Uh,
Chris Sale?
it was him,
Okay,
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo pitched a great game. We got the win tonight. We were up 2-0 going into the 6th inning, and then gave up 2 runs, let him tie it, and then in the 8th, Joe Jimenez, he at least allowed the run to score. I
Mm,
don't know if it was an earned run for him or not, but he allowed the Phillies to score. They went up 3-2, and then we failed to put any more runs on the board. So right now we're basically net neutral. You know, we went up, we gained a game, and then we lost that same game. The biggest fear, though, or the biggest worry, not so much the division, but we gotta stave off. We gotta hold off
wild
the
card.
Mets for the wild card, or we may be sitting at home this postseason, which would be a very, very sad ending to the year, given the high hopes and expectations of this team going into opening day.
It wouldn't be 100% agree, but with the decimation that you mentioned earlier, I can't. I would be sad. I wouldn't be like distraught, right? It's like, oh well, at least I don't have to live through the pain of a playoff series not going our way. The Philly series is a 3 game, and then we close out with them in Philadelphia for the last. Oh no, that's just September. Yeah.
We still have
We're
another 4 game series against them.
no.
No?
This is a 3 game series. We have another 3 game series
Okay.
to
But
end the series,
but
to
I
end the month.
agree with you in terms of it's understandable where they are given the the decimation, but it's still disappointing, right? And I think that's the term, disappointing, just
Yeah,
because there's just such high expectations, high hopes. I mean, this roster going into opening day was one of the tops in baseball. It still has a lot of those components. It's just they were not deep enough. Just
and in all honesty, man, I don't want to even say that we still have a lot of those components. We lost like so many major players at this point. And I know a couple have come back, like Money Mike, he's back, but he missed a lot of the season. Right, our starters, our start. What'd you say? Starting nine. I mean, they've just been injured all year, right? Outside of Ronald Acuna and Spencer Strider. We lost Max Fried for a little bit. We lost Ronaldo Lopez for a long time. We didn't have catcher. Oh man,
Shaw
uh,
Murphy.
lost Sean Murphy for a while. We lost Ozzy Osbourne for a while.
Yeah,
We
but
just lost Austin Riley. Matt Olson's just been there in body, not in spirit. Right. I think a lot of it is offset by the year that Marcell Ozuna is having, but without him, dog, we would be in the pits.
for sure, 100%. But I will say, like, injuries are expected in baseball. It's a long season. So to me, yeah, we miss those guys for a portion of the year. But you look at the lineup, right? Travis d'Arnaud, you got Sean Murphy. Those were, day one guys. You have Orlando Arcia, day one guy. Matt Olson, day one guy. Marcelo Ozuna, Michael Harris, Jared Kelnick. You're pitching, you have Fried, you have Sale, you have Lopez, right? Like, you still have a good amount of those pieces. Now have those guys, most of them, not all of them. Kelnick,
He was a
Olson
trade, right? Didn't we trade for Jared Kelnick?
in the
Or
off season.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, he was last off season trade, but d'Arnaud, Olson, um, Kelnick.
Arcia, yeah.
I mean, Arcia, I think, might have missed a game or two, but like, those guys have been the only ones, Chris Sale, that haven't missed like extended time. To your point, right? So,
Yeah.
but we still have all those pieces, and if they played well, with the other substitutes, this team is still very talented. Now, do I think they're a World Series team the way they were with Ozzy, Acuna, Austin Riley, Spencer Strider? No, like, those are you're talking about missing an MVP, a MVP caliber player, in my opinion, in Austin Riley, a one of the top second basemen in the league, like the best pitcher from a year prior in terms of strikeouts and wins. So yeah, I mean, you're missing some huge components, but this team is still very talented. They still have the ability to win. They still have ability to make the playoffs and even do some damage in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it would be understandable if they fail to achieve those heights.
Yeah. And that's all I'm saying. I would be disappointed, right? Not but I wouldn't be disappointed in the team. It'd be like, oh man, I don't get to enjoy October with my favorite baseball team, but it wasn't like it's not like, oh man, these guys suck. Right?
There was
This
a
is what
point in this season I felt that way. I felt that in my core. I'm like, man, we suck. We're just playing terrible. And
mm,
when I say we suck, it's like we're playing bad baseball. It's not that we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
have the talent.
No, we suck. Like the names are there. We know what they can do. They suck right now.
Yeah. We are stinking it up.
Yeah, but that's not even how I feel anymore, man. I'm just kind of like, dang, another one bites the dust. It's part of the course at this point. You know, that's a good pivot to like, well, not really, right? We talked about Rondell Moore and losing him and what that did, but
And Braylon
that
Trice.
and Braylon Trice, but that seemed to have sparked some big action for the Birds, man. The Bird Gang, Rise Up Gang, man.
So before you go
Okay.
where you're going, I want to ask you this because there's a lot of debate going on with media pundits because there's a lot of different approaches to the preseason football games, right? And the decisions that have been made by our club have been essentially to rest your biggest components, offense, and I think most defense as well. Michael Penix got 16 snaps or something in game one, shelved in game two. He won't see action in game three. Bijan has sat. Kurt has sat. You know, a lot of these Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and it's all been
Algier. Yeah.
Tyler Algier. It's all been in the name of player safety or not wanting guys to go out and get injured in meaningless football games. And so on one side of the coin, you have that argument. On the other side of the coin, you have, well, these guys need reps. They need to build some rapport. They need to get in some sort of rhythm that you cannot emulate game speed. You cannot emulate the game intensity in practice, especially with the rules that they have in place now, restricting, what you can do in practice. And so I want to get your opinion on this.
Yeah. I wanted to see Michael Penix play over the weekend. I was disappointed, and I'm disappointed that he's not going to play on Friday, just because the whole spiel was that Kurt is here to win us a Super Bowl. We won't be able to. That Michael Penix is not supposed to see the field in these first 2 years. So when there's an opportunity for him to see the field, I think you do that. Now with him, I think there's a special case, right? Um, and this is a reach. If he plays too well, the fan base starts clamoring for him to come in and be the starter. And then you just have, this narrative that they'll push. The national media will definitely push it. If he goes out there and goes, 12 for 15 for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, they're like, oh man, why shouldn't he start? Right? Just because it's a story that they can drive and get some engagement with.
QB
But that would,
controversy.
yeah, that would sink in and it would become a thing, right? But for the other players, I'm they talked about practice, like the co-practices where, like, I guess Miami's just our practice buddy because we've been down there the last couple of years. Uh, how that is enough, and I agree. I disagree with that too, man. We never play our stars in the preseason, and every week it seems like we come out slow. I was gonna ask that we do. I don't know that we'll have time. That we do uh, win loss on the season, right? But I have an opinion that the first, like Kansas City, right? I like the pieces that we've added. I know that's going to contribute to the success of the team. None of them played together. So will we win a week three game against an elite team? No, I don't think we will. Right. So that was going to be a loss for me. I think there's a lot of value in playing in the preseason, even if it's just limited snaps. And I haven't been a fan, and this isn't new, right? This isn't the Raheem Morris only regime that's been doing this. It's been like that since Dan Quinn. They never played any starters, and I've never been a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either. And I bring this question up because I also feel like I have my gut feeling on this, but I also have like a general understanding of why someone might feel differently, especially after witnessing what we've witnessed over the last 100+ games with the Braves, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about the key cogs, the key components of your franchise that you their ability to go week in and week out is really your season, right? Like, you
Hmm.
lose one or two of those guys and the trajectory of our season's completely different.
Yeah.
But you see Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce out there playing in preseason games. And we used
Even
to
if they're
see,
making a mockery of the other team, you saw that behind the back pass.
no, I didn't
You
see
didn't
any.
see that?
No, I'm gonna have to
Oh
go search
man,
that out.
it's crazy. We'll drop a link to that. That the pass is crazy.
Yeah, but the point is like they have a tremendous amount of cohesion between the two of those guys. Like, watch quarterbacks, watch any behind the scenes Kelsey documentary or whatever, and you can just tell they have a extremely tight, close knit relationship, and it comes out on the field.
Even
And
more than that, one thing on that before you move on. Even more than that, the pass that I'm talking about came out of them not being in sync.
mm,
Right? So where would you want that to happen? It was an amazing improvisation that Patrick Mahomes made, but you want that to be something that you experience in the preseason so that when the regular season does come about, you've already got that out of your system, right? They even make jokes about it at the end. Like Travis Kelce was talking about, he's like, yeah, Travis has that raspy voice, so I really couldn't tell what he was saying. So, but we got it done. I don't know what he's talking about.
yeah, no, I think it's a travesty really to not play your starters at all, right? Like, you need reps and you need game reps. And the
Mhm.
sad truth is we're going to come out week 1 and it's going to be slow, and they're going to build that relationship, that rapport as the season goes on, and unfortunately it may cost you a game or two.
Yeah,
This
thank goodness
season,
we're starting with the Arthur Smith led Steelers offense with Justin or
Russ.
Russell Wilson behind behind under center.
Yeah, but their defense is pretty good, right? Like,
Yeah, TJ
that
Watson, man.
should be a pretty big test for our offense. But yeah, I don't like it. I'm not a huge fan of it. Do I understand the rationale? Sure. But I just, I don't like it. As a fan, I don't like it. I would rather see those guys play. Even if it's
Dave
just a
Archer,
series, right?
yeah, even if it's just a series. Dave Archer was on the radio and Tribble asked him 929 the game. Everyone should know by now what radio station we're talking about, but he asked him like, is there a chance that, that they're more likely to get injured because you don't play them in the preseason? And Dave was like, well, no, that's some superstition stuff. If you don't play them, they can't get hurt. Right. So that is the counter argument to what we don't like is that, yeah, they just want to protect them and keep them ready for the season. But I think the advantage is the risk is worth the reward in playing your starters, even for a series in
But
the preseason.
is the outcome any different if you go out and you get hurt in the preseason, or you go out and get hurt within the first couple weeks of the regular season? Like, the risk of injury, probability wise, is the same every time you step on the field.
Mm,
I think the argument is like, do I want to, because the probability is the same, do I want to take that risk on a meaningless game? Well,
right.
n-
It has meaning. It doesn't. It's not going to go into the win and loss column. But okay, so maybe not meaning. It has value.
right.
So
Eh,
yeah, I mean, I take the risk.
So, to get back to where you started going, we have had a few injuries, not very many, knock on wood. we lost Braylon Trice for the year and Rondell Moore. And I mean, Terry Fontenot reached deep in his bag.
Hello.
Yeah, doing some of the I don't know how they're doing, but they're doing some sort of salary cap gymnastics wizardry over there to make this stuff work. But the first piece fell last week, right before we got hopped on here and did our pod. So we talked about it a little bit with Matthew Judon, and then we had discussed, there was talks about Justin Simmons and his possibility of coming, because DeMarco Hellams, he did get injured as well, but we didn't lose him for the season. Just, potentially a significant portion of the first half of the season. So we brought it up. We said, it would be amazing if we were able to make it happen. I don't know how we're going to make it happen. With the news of Judon, like, it felt less likely that we would see Justin Simmons in the red and black. And then I don't remember what day it was, but start seeing the old alerts pop. Falcons and Justin Jefferson agreed to 1 year, $8 million, 7.5 or 7 point something guaranteed. So he's going to be added to our, what looked like our weakness going into the season, the defense. He's another big veteran piece, as we talked about veterans earlier.
He's a ball hawk too. I remember him from Denver, right? And they're out of market. We don't get a whole lot of Denver games. So I remember him, and I remember how talented he was and how he has a nose for the ball. And he's back there with who I would say, and I think many people would agree with me, is the best safety in football right now, and Jesse Bates. So to have those two, I'm a lot more comfortable than I was prior to adding him on, because although I like Richie Grant's spunk, I think he has a lot to learn still.
Oh, stop being polite.
Nah, he was getting tore up over the top towards the second half of last season. Maybe it was all last season, but definitely towards the second half, it was a lot more visible, right? But he autographed my flag the last training camp that we went to, so I don't want to besmirch his name. Nah, man, I'm feeling good. Like, the players that went down, although mostly unknown, right? DeMarco Hellams, he got a little bit of run, but he was supposed to be, a lot better this year. He was replaced, and Braylon Trice was replaced by superstars, right? By Pro Bowlers. That's quite the jump.
So
and I'm looking forward to it, man.
I'm in the same exact headspace as you. We had a couple guys go down, and then we upgraded. Like, we didn't fill holes. We upgraded at the position. We got significantly better overnight with those two acquisitions. And I started to say it a second ago, but we talked about earlier the importance of a veteran presence. You have Grady Jarrett on the defensive side who's got a lot of experience, a lot of tread on him. But those two guys just add to those veteran voices in the room to help develop some of these young guys. And I can't be more excited to see, obviously I'm gonna take everything, week one with a grain of salt, because I know, we will get better as this team, gets more field time together and more time to gel. But I'm excited, man. I think the expectation level has increased. I already felt like we should be a NFC South champion, I should say. Yeah. But now it's like NFC South champion or bust, right? Like, we should walk away with this division. And if we don't, something has gone very wrong, and it will be very unfortunate.
Yeah, heads will roll. So on another shameless 92.9 plug, Rusty Manziel. I don't know if you heard the morning segment this morning, but he was on with the morning show, and he made this comment that I'll repeat. He couldn't give his source, but it was somebody within the Falcons organization that says that Arthur Blank is saying like the time is now. We're going for it right now, and that's where these moves were coming from, right? You wanted to go in. You thought you had a lot of talent in these young guys, and that they could perform, and had a chance to make some good headway and contributing to a very solid defense. But when they went down, it was like, oh well, all right, we're going for it. If we're not going to replace them with average or below average players, we're going over the top, and we're going to get some dogs to come in here and see if we can win one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's got Arthur trying to rush through this rebuild that he's refused to acknowledge over the last few years. But, I'm with it. I'm here for it. I do think that we have a lot of the pieces. We definitely have enough talent. It takes a little bit of luck. I think we've talked about that before. Like just trying to stay healthy and having the ball roll your way a few times. But do we have a chance, right? I would say absolutely. Like a couple years past, I'm like, man, we'll be lucky if we're not the worst team in the league. I don't feel that way going into this year. I feel like we should be, upper middle, if not, top 5 of the league with what this offense should do. And now, having a complementary defense, we should be very, very, very competitive.
So let's end it on this. It's a bit of a murderer's row.
Oh, it starts out rough.
Yeah. So I know I've done it before. Let's have you take a turn at win losses. I'm gonna run down the schedule for you. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Steelers.
W. At home, right?
Steelers at home.
Yeah, W.
Eagles away.
I feel like that's a push. I'm gonna go.
I need
Eagles.
a win loss from you, sir. Okay. Chiefs at home.
Chiefs.
Saints at home.
W.
Bucks at home.
W.
Panthers away.
W.
Seahawks at home.
W.
Bucks away.
W.
Cowboys at home.
W.
Messed up my fingers. Saints away.
Loss.
Broncos away.
W.
The Bo Nix Broncos. You saw he's a starter. Chargers at home.
W.
Vikings away.
W.
Raiders away.
Big W.
Giants at home.
Bigger W.
Commanders away.
W.
And Panthers away.
W.
It's 13 wins. I'm going to count your losses back. You said the
Eagles, Chiefs, and 1 to the
Chiefs,
Saints.
And 1 to the Saints.
And honestly, we may drop 1 or 2 of those others.
Division ones.
Well, not even necessarily division ones. We should run away with the division. Just, the NFL, there's so much parity and so many close games that, I think a plus or minus 2 is a decent, tolerance, I should say. So we can go 11 and 4 or 13 and 3.
14 and 3.
14-3.
That's why I was like, hold
Yeah.
on, wait a minute.
So 14. Yeah, they took away a preseason game and added a regular season game. So 14-3 or 11-5. Like, I think that's very much accomplishable for this team. That should be the bar. Like, that should be the expectation.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Which
12 to 14 wins.
3-4 weeks ago, no, longer. It was over before the off season started. Back before the draft, I would have said this was like a 8 or 9 win team. So
With Kurt,
yeah, with Kurt.
that's when I think I did mine, and I gave him 11.
Yeah, so you were a little bit more optimistic or feeling a little better than I was at the time.
You went through the moon now, man. 14 wins. That should be enough for potentially first place in the NFC.
Like I
Bye week.
said, you got to give that like a ±2, just for the parity of the league.
So you're saying 16-1. Wow, you heard it here first. 16 wins.
I think it's more likely to be -2, but still, 11 and 6 or 12-4. I mean, that's still a heck of a year.
12-5 or 11-6. Yeah.
So
Should definitely be enough for a home playoff game.
rise up.
I don't see the Saints or the Bucks. We're not even gonna talk about the Panthers. I don't see them getting 11 wins, but facing these same opponents.
Yeah. So
it's really just that front half, man. And then the Cowboys. Cowboys at home. We're at home with them.
yeah, I
I
mean,
think the Cowboys will be solid, but yeah, this is a winnable schedule, man.
it's really the first 3. Well, really 2 of the first 3. The Eagles and the Chiefs. I mean, that's tough sledding.
I mean, the Steelers do have a good defense. You mentioned that
Yeah.
before. So, and then Arthur Smith, I'm sure he has something to prove. Got some chips on his shoulder.
Yeah. Mike Tomlin and Raheem Morris have a pretty solid relationship, so that should be fun for him. I know he wants to get that W, but
yeah, I did go back and I finished the pivot. I watched the whole episode. I added that to our last podcast, a link to it. So if you need to find that, go to us first, and then it's a link down in the description to theirs. Give us some views, get some clicks, man.
amazing
Last thing.
podcast.
It was a very good episode. Very good. We have an Instagram account now. I should have thrown that at the beginning, right? The Players Ball Pod. Players Ball Pod is our Instagram account.
Go give us a follow. Give us some likes.
Follow on the gram, man. Not a whole lot on there yet. I got to get back into the swing of social media, man. I just haven't been on there like basically all year.
Yeah, well, since we've I think we're a little bit over our hour target, not by much. We've been doing better, I think, staying around an hour or 2 pretty consistently lately. So with that, we'll go ahead and end it. So like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit that thumbs up, comment, man. We want to hear from y'all. Just give us some comments. We want to interact with you. I mean, you give us, topics to talk about, things to chat it up, and we just want to know what y'all are feeling. Tell us what your win-loss record is for the Dirty Birds going into the year. So,
Kyle, I followed you, man. Followed you on the gram. Give us that follow back, brother.
Oh, he followed us.
No, he's not following us.
On the Players Ball? Yeah, he is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll follow him back. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, man.
All right, well, we appreciate the love, Kyle.
All right, well.
Catch you on the flip, my brother.
Peace.